Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode టాలీవుడ్ కబుర్లు. నేను మీ హోస్ట్ తేజ. ఆ, ఈ- ఈరోజు మనం మాట్లాడబోయే టాపిక్ అంటే ఆ, ఇది ఎలా చెప్పాలి, జీవితంలో చాలా ఉంటాయి, స్పెసిఫిక్గా రిలీజియన్స్, హిందూయిజం, జూడయిజం అండ్ ఇంకొన్ని ఉన్నాయి, క్రిస్టియానిటీ, కథాలిసిజం. ఆ రెండు ఒకటే, బట్ అది వేరే విషయం. ఈరోజు అండ్ కొన్నిసార్లు ఏం జరుగుతుందంటే కల్ట్స్ కూడా ఫార్మ్ అవుతాయి. సో ఈరోజు మేము ఒక విపరీతమైన కల్ట్ గురించి మాట్లాడబోతున్నాం. అది మెహరిజం, అంటే మెహర్ రమేష్ గారు తీసిన సినిమాలు. సో ఈరోజు మనతో అంటే కంటిన్యూయింగ్ అవర్ గెస్ట్ సిరీస్, ఈరోజు మనతో పాటు ఉన్నారు ప్రణవ్ గారా, నా మంచి స్నేహితుడు, మిత్రుడు. సో మేమిద్దరం, హీస్ సో ట్రాన్సిషన్ ఇన్ ఇంగ్లీష్ నౌ. He's our favorite director for reasons, obviously they're very obvious. So I talk to Pranav every single day. He's probably the person I talk to the most. So I can tell you right now, this will probably be the most entertaining episode we ever have. I already know that. So Pranav, thank you so much for being here. And if I can do this interview while keeping a straight face, I think that would be the biggest miracle out of all of it. So to start, how exactly did you get introduced to Meher Ramesh and his movies? And I think we'll just really take it from there.
All right. Firstly, thank you, Teja. This is my first time ever being on a podcast, and the topic to be about it is going to be something else. So let's go at it. So a little background. So the thing is, like, I think the first ever movie I watched of his, like, first choose in the cinema, Billa, and then I think sixth class ఉన్నప్పుడు Shakthi వచ్చింది. Shakthi came around that time, and thing is, I don't even know who this guy was till about like 2017, because like I didn't really like follow like Telugu Twitter or Telugu social media at time ago. So and then once I got on there, then I realized, oh, this is the cult following he has.
Yeah.
And then movies like we've all experienced movies like Shadow, Shakthi. I mean, Billa and Kantri, or you can say, are much better watches than compared to his other movies. But
Yeah.
the rest of those movies were we all know the rest is history. As he said in his audio launch speech, ఇప్పుడు చూడబోయేది ఎప్పుడు వినిపించేది.
That's 100% true.
Yeah.
I guess to sort of start off, so if to basically give you guys the topics, I know I'm doing a terrible job at this, but we're basically going to talk about his filmography, touch a little bit on Bhola Shankar, and then we're going to sort of transition into, because we talk about this every day in the state of, how we see sort of the Telugu industry going forward, and I guess sort of, like pan India, I guess just the future of Telugu cinema. So that's what we'll discuss. So obviously, for me, my introduction was I'd heard of this guy, but yeah, so I'd heard of him. I knew he was an assistant to Puri Jagannath, and of course, the first movie I saw was Kantri. I saw it. I don't watch it in theaters. I saw it on VHS right back when they were the dark days when you went to the video store and you rented the latest thing. So I saw it, and it was entertaining. I liked it, but I think more than anything, the thing that stuck with me, and even today, are actually the comedy scenes more than the movie. Prabhas Sreenu's first introduction when he meets Hansika, he's singing Chupalto Gucci Gucci from Idiot. And one of her friends is like, Veedu Chude, Veedu Raviteja Anukuntunnadu in in that scene. And then he gets and then we see Sunil as Rajni Hassan, who's basically a hybrid. Supposedly we're supposed to think between Sunil and Rajnikant, and then obviously the famous scene where Brahmanandam comes as the director to see his talent at the talent show, and obviously the iconic character of Spider Reddy that's just stuck with us after 14 years. But when I saw it, I mean, it was very entertaining. I think the thing that struck me the most, other than the comedy scenes, was just how stylish NTR looked, because this was the first movie after Yamadanga, and the commercial result, I'm not too sure. Like, I think it was success. It might have been average or whatever, but obviously it was produced by YGNT Movies, and other than NTR, right? It's the album. I think we've talked about it a lot of times. I think our favorite music director is obviously Manisha Magaru, so this is a movie that he did, and yeah, all the songs. And I I have to mention this, the title song 123 Nenoka Kantri. It's written by Meher Ramesh, and the beat is copied by a song by this guy Young Buck. And I remember hearing that on TV, and I was like, "Wait, that sounds like the Telugu song that I know." And then I looked it up, and it was the other way around. They had copied it from the Young Buck song. So I was like, I'm not even surprised, but yeah, that's that. Do you have yeah? What were your thoughts on it when you watched? I think you watched it recently, right? Within the last few years.
Yeah, so actually the funny thing was like I actually watched it like let's say 2018 or 2019, like just like the first time ever watching it, and I thought, it's not that bad of an entertainer, it's like has its like mass elements, it has like its entertaining moments and stuff. Obviously probably not the best movie out there, but it's still an enjoyable movie out there to watch. I would say that probably the one thing I did notice is that almost had the same similar lines to Pokri. I mean, I guess which makes sense since he was Puri Jagannath's assistant, right?
Literally
So
the same thing,
that
just
was
with NTR.
right. And so yeah, it's just like it was similar to Pokri, but at the same time, it was still like at least one thing I noticed about him is at least Billa and Kantri, he at least styled Pravas and Tarak really well, which I was like surprised considering obviously a little off topic subject. Like if you look at Pravas's look in Saho, which is not all that great, he looks much
Yeah.
better in Billa and the Billa, and then Junior NTR's looks in Country was usually one of his best in his whole career. So maybe he should have just stuck with something on that aspect going forward. But yeah, I guess maybe just times have changed after that.
Yeah, I 100% agree because his movies literally there's that saying, right? Style over substance. That's him in a nutshell. And but yeah, like you said, I mean, I haven't rewatched it in a long time. All I know is that it was very action packed and it had like I don't remember the amount of fights, but it was just very action packed. And I mean, at the end of the day, right? For us, what do we want? We just want entertainment, and the movie did a great job of that. So yeah, so if you guys are listening to this, you haven't seen Country, please go and watch it. And if you've seen it, then you probably know. But all things aside, I think it gets a lot of hate, right? Because as you touched upon, it's basically like a Pokey Picture Light version. So I think that's probably why it gets hated on. But other than that, it's just an entertaining film at the end of the day. So definitely agree with that. So moving on to Billa, I don't know when I watched. I watched on YouTube again. I didn't watch it in theaters. This movie has some gold mines. It's a gold mine for memes at times because of the great Krishna Garu. We love him. In the interrogation scene, there are these dialogues. I think he's cleverer than a snake, moves faster than a fox, or something like that. You're like, I need to interrogate him, or something like that. And then, of course, the very famous dialogue, "Mudda digudura." So there's also that, but putting all that aside, like you said, right? It's actually a genuinely good remake because around that time we already had Don, and then we had Billa, the Tamil one with Ajit, and then we had how is it? How do I say? And then we got this one, right? But I think if you look at it from all aspects, like in terms of a remake, Prabhas is perfect as Billa. As Ranga, I felt like it's an extension of the character in Bujjigaru. It's very entertaining, the slang that he uses, all that stuff. And actually the training montage is it's very entertaining. And yeah, other than just like the sort of the cringeworthy dialogues and they meet and they're like can, I still don't know what that means. Uh, and I think this movie was obviously the peak of Anushka. I don't want to go more into detail so we don't get canceled, but I think I think we both know. And Namita also has a good role, so I think it was very well done. I think the twist in the end I didn't expect either, like the fact that like his boss was basically all that stuff, right? But it's very stylish again. And if we're talking about the music, I know that again, Samani Sharma music. He worked for 3 out of the 4 Meher Ramesh movies. Obviously, the most famous song is Bomali. And
Yes.
then you have My Name is Billa, which is very stylish and well shot. But at the end of the day, this is actually what I wanted to mention. This movie is literally like a 2.5 hour tourism ad for Malaysia. They go everywhere. They show you all the places specifically. I mean, the most iconic thing is obviously the Petronas Towers, right? So those are like the two towers. I think it's even in Dukuru. It's in that scene where like Sonu Sood is listening to like the Gansala song, and then his brother is like, "Hey, what's going on, man? Like, have some champagne." I think it's the same place, but
Right, right.
it's like must. The must is you got to show that Murugan statue by the caves, then you got to show Petronas Towers, and then you just got to show the city, and that's it. That's Malaysia in a nutshell, right? But that's just the setting. But yeah, and again, another very stylish movie, and I enjoyed it.
Oh, same with me too. I think like I remember I personally watched it actually. So we used to have like streaming of like Gemini TV, Ma TV, ZTV back in the day, and I
Mhm.
remember just watching it on either if it was Gemini or ZTV. I watched it then, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is a pretty nice movie because at that age I was like still in the mode of like if it has action, this is the greatest movie of all time. So I didn't really like focus much on anything else, like any negatives or anything. But even to this day, it's still like one of the most like stylish movies, and you would still think that it's done by like somebody like Surinder Reddy, who's known for like more stylish movies, but it's done
Mhm.
by none other than Meher Ramesh. So it's just like
Yeah.
it's a big surprise from like he makes movies like Shakti and Shadow, and then there's Billa, right? So it's just like a staunch surprise to anybody who watches it for real. But anybody, I'm sure, can enjoy that movie for the action and obviously the comedy as well too. So I think yeah, it's one of the movies he can at least say that I made he made proudly.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I wanted to add on was, again, our one of my favorite podcasts, Roast Mortem, or I guess Point Intente, Lickett's
Right.
podcast said, if you look at his filmography, right, like all everybody he worked with, they're all superstars. Like he did not work with anybody small, and all of them were like huge budget things and all that stuff. So definitely have to appreciate that. But yeah, I think this is probably gonna this is gonna be the most lengthy part of this. Coming to the best
Finally,
movie of all time, called Shakti, the Power. I saw this movie. I saw it on Movie Rules, I think the first time, and then I don't actually know. Actually, you know what happened? I saw it on Movie Rules, and then I went to India later that year. So this came in April 2011, right? And I saw it on TV, and there was only one thing going through my mind, which was they literally just made Magadira, but with NTR, and then only later did I realize like everything in it. But I remember during that time, right? This movie came with so much hype, and all I knew were audio functions at the time. Right now we have what is it pre-release event,
pre-watch,
pre-teaser, pre pre.
pre, they have pre for everything at this point within that.
So back then they only had the audio launch, and then he said, "Can you please say the best dialogue ever?"
He says like he was like ఇప్పుడు మీకు చూడబోయేది మీకు ఎప్పుడు చూడనిది
Yeah.
ఎప్పుడో తట్టి చూసింది కానీ ఓ ఇది
ఎప్పుడో చూసారనుకుంటారు కానీ మీరు చూసుండ్రే and something like that, and he was absolutely spot on. I mean, this movie is a masterpiece, but for all the wrong reasons. And I remember for this movie they called NTR A1 star for the first time. He comes on an elephant in the introduction, and then after this movie he went right back to Young Tiger. They never called him A1 star again.
yeah.
And I've heard like a lot of things, right? Which is whenever, and like I think you also mentioned this. He narrates the story so convincingly, but by the time you need to get to but by the time he goes to the set, it's something completely different. And I was actually reading a interview with Ileana the like before this, right, to prep for this pod, and he said, what is it? Yeah, she said that whatever he narrated me and whatever he made was completely different. And she was so pissed that she just yeah, she never wanted to work with them again. And the fact that this movie came from Vaijayanti Movies, right? Ashwini Dutt, he's one of the iconic producers of Telugu cinema.
Right.
And the fact that the amount of money he lost with this movie, he didn't produce another movie for 4 years until Yavade Subramaniam. Tells you everything you need to know. But starting off, I mean, the biggest flaw. Okay, now if he's the way I think they should have made this is if they had said, he's sort of a descendant from like years before, and then like it just kept going down and down and down, that would have made more sense. But the fact that we had pharaohs in 1981. And, no, I'm sorry, 19, I think it was 1987. I don't remember. This was a blur, okay? That was the biggest thing. So 27 years ago, I'm trying to think, the pyramids were built in BC, they're still existing, and that's real because they're still there. But you're gonna tell me pharaohs are still around in 1981? In what world? How? And the only good thing about this movie are three things. Ileana, for obvious reasons, we're not gonna go into it again. We don't want to get canceled. And then we have the production design, and then obviously the music by Mani Sharma. Other than this, there is no positive take out of it. And then you have, and the first half, apparently this guy's a tour guide, right? I don't know, like, I don't know what tour guide he was. I don't even remember what he does. I remember Ali is with them, but all I know is that Ileana slowly starts falling for this guy, and then the first time we get um the songs are oh, this is what I wanted to mention. I'll go right back to that. This intro song Talia Talia. I rewatched it the other day. The inconsistencies in this song. Okay, there's one. So NTR has two looks in the song. The first look, he's like sort of he has like a stubble. The next, he just has like a mustache and an afro, which means they must have filmed it at two different points. And then there's one lyric in that song, and Meher Ramesh took it literally. And I also want to mention this. His intro in the song, he comes as a whirlwind.
Yeah.
They're saying
And I
like in
think
the
there's
background, it's
one
going,
part where he comes like a missile too. Like I think, yeah,
that,
he comes like a missile or something, right?
that's what I wanted to mention. When the lyric comes, Nano Misailera, he literally jumps from the left side to the right side, and the camera just pans on him, and it looks like he's floating in air, like a missile that's being shot. And again, he took this too literally because we have to talk about the interval scene. It comes out of nowhere. But I'll come back right back to I wanted to say every time Ileana meets him, we just get a song. So one of the songs I think is Matileke Pichiga. The next one is Surro Surro. And then yeah, like they just come out of nowhere. And that was actually what is it? Those are relief from whatever's going on in the main story, to be honest. At least they're well shot, and they're in some nice locations and whatnot. But the interval scene, he's somehow like a secret agent, right? Out of nowhere, and then the most iconic GIF was born, and this is actually quite interesting. I noticed this. Vidyut Jamal, right? He's in this movie. I think it's his first Telugu movie. And then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's also in Usirvelli. So in back-to-back movies, got his ass kicked by NTR. But basically, Vidyu Jamal shoots at him, and then he just dives in the air and dodges the missile. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. You can go and watch it.
సాగిపోయేదు ఒకసారి కొట్టించుకోవడం సాగిపోయేది.
So he just dodges the missile, and then the second half starts, and see, the saddest part about this entire film is that it had so much potential because the story is actually very interesting. They're talking about like Shakti Pitams and all these things, right? Like all these related stuff, but the way it's executed is just like I I mean, you can use Zandu Bomb, right? But I think you're gonna need multiple orders
Yeah.
after you after you finish this. And then what happens is he plucks a sword. This is also what I liked about it. There's just a random sword at the temple that's been there for 100 years. Nobody plucked it. So there's also like a sword in the stone aspect of this too. So he goes, he plucks it out, and then there's a Nazar. He's like the priest. This dude is somewhere else. He somehow gets like, special powers. This is like, how do I say it? He's like Doctor Strange, right? He can just randomly teleport. This dude is somewhere. I have no idea. He just casually walks back, with his nicely decorated trident that he's got. With I think he's got some, he has all the different kais, meaning fruits, on this trident, and he comes back, and he's just like, yeah, like the curse has been lifted. You finally come back, and you're just confused. You're like, what? Then it goes in the flashback. I don't know if this is true. What I heard in the flashback when NTR comes as Rudra, it's awful get up and all that stuff. Apparently, he's wearing Nike shoes.
Yeah.
Nike shoes. I mean, then again, right? It was 1981, so it's valid. What you think about the attention to detail? and all that stuff. And then a flashback happens, and it's a bunch of BS. Basically, Sonu Sood is a pharaoh. He's married to this other lady. I don't even remember her name. It might be Pooja Bedi, it might not be. And he's hell bent on. Dude, I couldn't even tell you because I don't remember. He just wants to like, okay, he's like an evil pharaoh, whatever, and then NTR kills him, plucks his eyes out, and then what happens is NTR's it is something related to the Shakthi Peetams. I couldn't tell you because it's so absurd. And then, oh yeah, the best part of this movie is that Jackie Sharaf is in there for no reason, as usual. He's just in there, but coming back. So he dies, and then NTR does like something else. Oh no, he doesn't do something else. He gets killed, but then his wife is giving birth to obviously an heir. Who is that heir? It's NTR. Again, this is all in 1981, where you got pharaohs, Nike shoe wearing warriors. Okay, all these things put together, and yeah, that's and then the basically what he has to do is and then the villain's wife, I think Pooja Bedi, she puts Sonu Sood's eyes into like this dude, who's like a knockoff Great Khali if he was bald, and
Yeah. Didn't he
and
have like
yeah,
one like hair strand coming down or something? It's like something like whatever.
and yeah, that's basically what happens, and then yeah, so now his objective completely changes. This secret agent out of nowhere who is pretending to be a tour guide now has to save the world by basically saving these Shakti Peetams from an evil pharaoh that's still alive in 1981. And it successfully happens. And once again, like I was saying, right, the sets that they created, there's like that whole cave. The art director for this movie was Anand Sai. He's one of my favorite art directors. He worked for countless movies, but in that one, Jalsa, Kaleja, all those movies. And you can clearly tell he's the only guy who did his job properly. Nobody else, nobody else did that. And then obviously Money Sharma. If you come to the music, I mean, it's one of his last albums before he sort of fell off. But again, it's only the best one. My personal favorite song in the movie is Prema Desam Yuvarani. I think it's really held up over time, and it's still very catchy in terms of like the composition and all the singing. Um, so that's definitely my favorite song. And then the other song is I don't know the exact name of it, but it's sort of like the classical song. And it's actually yeah, I think it's like a classical song in the sense of like it's sort of like a ragam that's been there since like the
Oh,
start
okay,
of
okay. I know
music.
what you're talking about. Right.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
comes
it's
with
like
a
the
flashback,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. The praying song. It's like right before
Right.
his Anteo's wife dies, at least the elder one. Um, but yeah, that one that's also a very soothing song. But yeah, music is good, and then the obviously the production. I think it was the most expensive movie ever made at the time, which is why it lost so much. But you know, it's just sad because it's such a waste of resources and a waste of like an interesting story that just you remember nothing about it other than the fact that it just gave you nightmares, right? It's like a traumatic experience, and it's
Yes.
you get PTSD.
And then it's just like the it's a famous saying when the అంటుంటారు ఆ బడ్జెట్ తోని అడవి శేష 10 pairs తీసే budget.
Yeah, that's true. I'd have to look it up. I think I mean it looked expensive. Um, I think it was at least like 15, no, more than that. It had to be at least 40. Let's take a look here. I mean, it's not telling me, but yeah, it had to be at least 35 to 40. Um,
Mhm.
to be the most expensive. If it was even 50, I wouldn't be surprised because that, you know, I mean, I don't know how much it made. I can guarantee it probably didn't make more than 15 or 20. So you're looking at a sizable loss right there. But oh yeah, I mean, it's yeah, we could honestly do an entire pod just on that, but it's yeah, Shakti is something else. It's it's not easy
Affected
to
history in the wrong way.
yeah. Oh yeah, like you say, alternate history gone wrong. And At the end of the day, Meher Ramesh, he was right. I mean, we got something we had never seen in the sense of
Right.
pharaohs in pharaohs in 1981, and yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, this I was also sad because growing up, I don't understand the hype about Ileana, right? I was too young, and then when I go back and watch movies like Kick, or if I even watch parts of this movie, I start to understand. I start to understand why. And perhaps her styling and her look was another thing he got right. But oh man, Shakti's our favorite movie for the right reasons. Coming on to another PTSD inducing thing, Shadow.
Oh
Um,
man.
I saw this on DVD. I already knew it was bad. The one thing that still is rent free in my mind is I don't read the website anymore, but a great Andhra. They wrote the tagline "Sunstroke guaranteed" if you watch it, and I 100% agree. I think you will definitely have a sunstroke. Um, to be honest, again, there's nothing I remember of this. This is like this. It's like a blur. This is basically like. I mean, look, I don't drink, but I've heard numerous stories. Right, when you get blackout drunk and you wake up the next morning, you have no recollection of what happened. That is literally this movie summed up. And there's one thing I remember about it. Number one, his no, three things I remember. Number one, Venkatesh's styling in the movie.
Oh
Number
man.
two,
Whoever did that, oh my god.
whoever did that needs to be fired immediately. And then number two, the title song. I don't even know what the lyrics are. I don't know if they were saying D double do or V double do. I have no idea to this day. And then yeah, and then the lyrics go, "He's the shadow," and then the next lyrics go, "The endo." I don't even know if that's a word. I know the end. I don't know what the endo means. Okay, and then I just remember a very vivid scene. Venkatesh, he has like memory loss or something, and he pretends to be like a little kid named Chunti, and he has a gun. He has no idea what he's doing, and he forces all of his like all the people that are around him, his friends, to play Antakshari. And if in Gabbar Singh it made you laugh out loud, this makes you cringe. It makes you want to bang your head against a wall
This
and
is like
use
spoof
some.
comedy and it's best because చాలా సినిమాలు చూస్తుంటే like ఒక కంపల్సరీ స్పూఫ్ సీన్ ఉంటుంది కదా ఇంట్లో అన్ని basically అన్ని స్టార్ హీరో
I'm starting to think now that Bobby, he watched this movie and he got inspired to make the same scene in Sardar.
oh,
Gabbar
I think so.
Singh. Oh man, but yeah, Shadow. I mean, I like the story's so routine, and it's been done another time, so many times, and the only reason, the villain in Bodyguard, his son is also an actor, but Aditya Pancholi, he was in the villain in Salman Khan's Bodyguard. Apparently, he's like a famous actor. I think he's also in Damaradam, if I'm not wrong.
Right. Uh-huh.
He's the villain in this movie. I think it was his Telugu debut. Again, it doesn't matter because it was so bad. And Srikant's also in this movie. I don't know why. And yeah, this is just an experience I think everybody collectively would want to forget. Um, Including Topsy. This movie literally just feels she feels like she looks completely out of place. I don't even know why she did it. Probably just for money, obviously.
You know,
Needed something on the resume, just to do for a few months. And yeah, I mean, there's some. If I ever get the chance to meet Venkatesh Garu, I'm only gonna ask one thing, sir. Why did you do Shadow? Please, please let us know the reason.
like నువ్వు నాకు నచ్చావు ఆ ఫోన్ సీన్ ఉంటుంది కదా యూ కెన్ ఆస్క్ హిమ్ లైక్ ఎందుకు షాడో చేసావు మనం
That is so true. Yeah, you're talking about the scene where Chandramohan writes a letter, right? And then he goes and calls him. Oh my God. But yeah, I actually forgot. Have you seen the movie or you've never seen it?
I've seen Shadow and so the funniest thing was so like I was just randomly like okay this was like on YouTube right I saw Shadow like you know what yeah, what's gonna be bad about this? And this and little backstory. At this time, I still didn't know who Meher Ramesh was at that time yet,
Oh, okay.
and I decided to, let's maybe give it a watch. It's okay, Venkatesh movie, so let's might as well watch. And then, yeah, rest is history from there on. It was just like it's just routine to the max. It's just like the thing you already know what's gonna happen. I just thought everybody's out of place. I think it was like MS9 was trying to troll Venki the whole time, but he gets trolled the whole time when Venki was Shanti. And then I did like the one song like oh it's like oh la oh la. I thought that was pretty catchy, but other than that, it just felt like a typical Meher Ramesh movie we say now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, just it's one thing. You know what I feel is it's one thing to have like a body of work that is so what is it? It's one thing, you on one spectrum you have Rajmouli, and then the other spectrum you have Meher Ramesh, right? One guy is taking the industry forward, all his movies are classics, and then you have another guy whose filmography has made people like have sleepless nights. It keeps you up at night. You get reminded that, oh
Yeah.
my God, I just had this traumatic experience and all these things. But if I'm being honest, right? For somebody that makes something that's so stylish and all these things, if he could just spend some more time like on the script, we would have very stylish and
Right,
entertaining films.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's just like he's at the point where it's just like I feel like if he just puts in the time he does to like how he narrates everything really well. If he put in time to like
Yeah.
direct the movie well, maybe he would have had much better movies. And like going back to the point you mentioned before, he's only worked with like big stars. If he tried, let's say, if he worked with like let's say like me any of our mid tiers, let's say for example, what can I say? Let's say if he at least tried with, let's say, just a normal film with Nani and he directed that well, maybe it could be like a nice entertainer for people to watch, at least family audiences, since they like watching like nice family entertainers, right? So the thing is, it's just that he needs to understand it's not always style over substance.
My biggest question is how he keeps getting a producer, which brings us to our next point. Bhola Shankar. Um, as we know, it's the official remake of Ajit's Vedalam, obviously starring megastar Chiranjeevi Garu and Kirti Suresh. And that's actually the only two people in the movie that I know. When this announcement came, what was your reaction? I feel like it was, uh, if I'm being brutally honest, um, it was PTSD and somewhere excitement at the same time. There's no in between. There's only two
It was
opposite ends
exactly
of the
that.
spectrum.
It was exactly that. It was just like the thing with Vedalam, right? I always feel that movie was like tailor made literally just for like Ajit, because
Yeah,
literally the whole
that's
movie in
facts.
Tamil, literally in Tamil, like the when I saw the original Vedalam, it was literally like Ajit's mask from like start to finish. Like I think I remember like he was pretty much in every scene in the movie too, at least from what I remember from the movie. So it's just like I don't know if anybody else can suit that role, but considering Meher Ramesh now giving what's it called? The thing is, even this Chiranjeevi guy has done this role. I think at least this type of role, at least a million times. So it's gonna be like, you going back to like either one of his movies from his 80s or 90s all over again. Because it's like I think I heard the other day Nitin was gonna be Kirti Suresh's like husband in
Yeah,
the movie or
yeah,
something.
that wasn't in the original.
And so it's just like another case where he's packing in everything, but I think we could all know what the result's gonna be.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? I'm curious. I gotta look this up now.
I just saw this like on just the Instagram wall. It said like Nitin is confirmed to be Kirti Suresh's husband or something. It's gonna be like the Rang De Bhola Shankar universe.
Rang Davies Bhola Shankar Universe. Oh, I forgot Tamana's the heroine. Okay.
Oh, okay, okay.
No, I'm just looking at the cast. Yeah, there are a host of people in it. I was wondering who. Okay, so the story is obviously by Siva, which is obviously no good in the first place. And
Oh.
then it'll probably be screenplay, dialogues, and direction by Meher Ramesh. So. And some interesting facts about this, if nobody knows. it came out, but she said it recently. Sai Pallavi was actually the first role to play Kirti
Oh
Suresh.
yeah, I heard about this.
She said no, I think for obvious reasons. Um, but yeah, that's also that. But obviously, if we're being honest here, if you've seen Vedalam, right, I mean, you've seen the movie, you know what the experience is like, you know what the story is like. I mean, it's just the zillionth remake of Basha once again.
Literally.
And I mean, yeah, I don't know what to expect. Part of me wants to go to the premiere show just to see that, you always get the written and directed the credit, right, to see that. But at the same time, deep down, I just have nightmares thinking about what the what the experience is going to be like. So I mean, we'll see. I think it's coming next year. Unfortunately, it's not coming this year, but when it comes, it'll be something. It's like, what's that word? Bittersweet, right?
Oh yeah.
Definitely, definitely be bittersweet. I can tell you that much right now. So yeah, we will see. I mean, again, right? He is our. I mean, if we're generally speaking, right, we picked this topic because we thought it would be very fun. Our goal here is not to entirely diminish Meher Ramesh Garu, but rather to talk about our collective experiences that have brought
Right.
us together. So we wish him the very best. We're looking forward to Bhola Shankar, and
Yes, sir.
we'll see if the output is Shakthi, or if it's something that's actually,
Uh-huh.
something that's worth watching. Because at the end of the day, it is a big star hero film. It has the mega star of Tollywood. So we will see. More than that, my biggest question is he gonna do the bald look, or or the buzz cut look, or what? That's
Oh
that's my
yeah.
genuine question
I
here.
think
But
in the funny thing was, so I think I saw on a meme, right? So what was Tiger Shroff's most recent movie? Was it Boggy Trees or was there something else that came after?
I think it was Hiro Panti too.
Okay, so I think on one of the meme page, right? So that exact scene where like Ajit is like he's like acting innocent, and then he shows this like the Mossy side, right?
Yeah.
Where he tries to like he beats up everybody after that. I think Tiger Shroff apparently imitated that role, but knowing Tiger Shroff, it didn't seem like that. It seemed like Ajit did.
Tiger Shroff and Vedalam. That gives me nightmares just thinking about it.
Oh man,
Again.
I wouldn't even surprised if it happens at this point, considering the movie just made it.
Oh man, that is so true. Yeah, I mean, they're remaking everything under the sun. Like we always talk about, right? I'm waiting for when they announce the Shakti remake, Brahmotsam,
Yes.
Agnatavasi remake. But
Oh man, because it's just like now it's just like literally like I don't get it. Like I guess from them it's just like the movie like Dawn, right? Telugu Dawn, right? It's like us Telugu people we didn't even like the movie, and then somehow in North India they love that movie so much. Especially that scene where it's like who's the villain's name? I don't remember in the movie.
Kelly Dorji, the guy who's in
Yes,
Bombshell.
Kelly Doherty and Nagarj, they have like a standoff, right? And then one guy commented, "This is the best rap battle each mile like."
Yeah, that's so true. That is 100% true. I saw it last year, I think, for the first time, and 10 minutes in, I mean, it's an iconic movie for this one reason alone. So in Nagarjuna's intro scene, he steps out, right? And like some dude, obviously, right? Because hero and TNT are దేవుడు. So he gives him an umbrella. It's obvious it's raining for some reason. I mean, it is what it is. And they go to and like, you'd think it's an office building. They go to like some building that's in construction. I don't know what you remember that scene in Pokeri where Ashish
Yeah.
shoots the. It's the same exact thing,
Oh, okay,
except
okay.
the only difference is they have windows around, so it looks like it's a closed space, so it's like dark. And then the villain, he has like a throne, like the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones. And
Yeah.
Nagarjuna doesn't have a chair, so he says boys, and then all of his henchmen literally create a human. They do like a human formation, and they create a chair, and he goes and sits on them.
Man. And then Raghav Lawrence is the best hype man I've ever seen in a movie because literally every single line he just hypes up. Like he's like, I'm not this, I'm not that.
Literally every single scene that's that, and then he shoots himself later on.
Yo man, yeah.
Kills himself with Don. I think we can talk. I think that'll be our next topic. We gotta talk about.
Uh,
We'll do Lawrenceism next, definitely.
oh
Rebel
man,
and I think it stops at that, right? He made three
right?
movies.
I think, or you could just make a topic like music directors and their art of making their own style of music.
I'll definitely hit you up again for when we do.
Uh,
The glory of Raghava Lawrence. That is a fantastic topic. But yeah, I guess now to transition from that, right, we talk all the time. I mean, I think we have a very good, rapo and sort of sense of humor and all these things. But we often talk about where we think like the future is headed, right, and where we think it should be headed. So, question I've been asking a lot in all my guest interviews and everything else is, when I hear the word pan India, what I think about is like an actual frying pan that you can buy in India. Um, but no, when I hear when I hear the word pan, right? If I'm being honest, what do you think if you think of a frying pan? Apparently, pan means like it covers, it covers like a vast, I guess, amount of space, or rather, it's like beyond boundaries. Yeah, I don't even know. I just think the word is very stupid. But since everything seems to be a pan Indian movie every day, where do you sort of see the future? What's your take on pan Indian movies, and where do you think the future of Telugu cinema is headed?
that's this is a question I've always been like realizing too because it's like whenever I think of like at least movies in general, like let's take Hollywood for example, right? Like
Hmm.
they've gotten to the point like yeah, granted like they're like in America the main language is English, right? And granted in most in UK, USA, Australia, main language is English. So I guess for them like it's a unity factor to where it's like oh they can watch all Hollywood movies because it's there they don't you don't ever see like Pan Texas or like Pan like Florida movies,
Fantastic.
right? I've always seen that Hollywood has always been united in the fact that they've been making like big movies. Obviously, like at one point it was like the art house movies like Godfather, let's say Taxi Drivers, which have made like impacted like how films have been made. And of course, like in the 80s, 90s, you've gotten the big action movies like Terminator, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, for example, right?
Hmm.
And then now it's like Marvel pretty much runs the roost, right, of like the whole industry. So it's just like I think we as like a we need to realize like language is a barrier. Obviously, in India we have so many different languages since there's 29 states, right? And so I think there's a lot of like still like a regionalism problem because a lot of people like when they just look at oh they say South movie or they just say North movie, right? But I think what Rajamouli said was perfectly right. Like we have to start viewing everything as just Indian cinema in general because even another thing Rana said was like at the end of the day, it's just a camera with a script, and then people are watching it, right? So if you have subtitles, you'll be fine too. So I think in general, we just gotta like this is the part where like since for Telugu cinema or even just other movie industry in general, like we gotta like pan together and like make these nice films because a lot of people even like a lot of Westerners are liking RRR, for example. Even Ian Heacock from Smosh, which just surprised me the other day, loved R. I was like, oh damn, I never thought I would be seeing a tweet from Ian from Smosh. So it's just like if RR can make an impact like this, I'm sure we can make more cinema that can make impact to the world. Like I think Martin Scorsese even once said that he's a big fan of I don't remember his name, but it's Satyajit Ray. He's a
Yeah,
really
yeah,
big fan of
he's one of
his.
the
Right,
legendary directors. Yeah.
right. So if we could carve out a niche like that into world cinema, then that would be a proud moment for us to like and yeah, I mean, obviously we're gonna have like some movies are still gonna be like really bad, obviously, but it's a growing phase. It's a growing phase too. I think it's just everybody has to realize nowadays. Like, for example, like when I watched Vikram, right? Like, I don't think like I think it's probably, in my opinion, like redefined how to make a mass movie because it was just like you had not just like the stars there, but they had like strong characters, which you remember them for, right? I
Hmm.
feel like in Telugu, if we make movies that are more like character driven, like you can remember a character for a longer period than like maybe the star, then I feel that we could be a much better industry that way. Obviously, it's more of like the star hero is basically your Marvel hero, right? In
Yeah.
the Telugu industry, right? So I think it's just a growing thing. It's just we gotta realize it ourselves. And at least what one thing I can always say, like our Telugu audience is probably one of the best audience in the whole world. Because
That's
yeah, cinema, I know,
absolutely
like yeah, language, right? So
true.
yeah, language and yeah, cinema, I know they'll like elevate it to the core. So like
Yeah.
I think it's just that like we just our directors and like actors just need to realize like, oh, we can do these type of films. It's just that we got to take a risk somewhere, right? Because it's just like in business, right? Sometimes you got to take a risk to like get over the hump, right? And
Yeah.
they just got to do that. And with upcoming movies too, it's just like with RRR and Bahubali 2, right? But at least when Bahubali 2 came out, it was almost like our Star Wars movie in a sense because it kind of redefined who we are as a Telugu film industry, and then RRR came as well too. So I think if we keep doing it in a cycle to where we keep doing these big movies that are panning out to not just India but around the world, then we could be in a really good phase. And we're in a part where like we really need to take advantage of that fact too. So it's a growing phase definitely, but I think we can definitely get there eventually.
Yeah. No, that's facts. I mean, I couldn't I couldn't have said any better. I think one thing I will add is, and we often talk about this a lot, right? Which is ప్రతి సినిమా pan India అవడం అనే అవసరం ఏం లేదు.
Right, you don't need that,
Literally,
right?
I there have been four movies that have worked that went pan India. Okay, you have Bahubali. I can count them on one finger. That's how many succeeded. You have Bahubali series, KGF series,
Right.
Pushpa, and then
RRR.
most recently Triple R. That's four
Right.
out of like the 30 attempts that they've done, right? And I think Rajmouli said it best. At least the if you I think you've probably seen the speech, which is when he talked at the KGF 1 audio launch, right? He said, "I was in Bangalore and Prashant Neil and Yash and I think the producer came to meet him at a hotel." And they showed him some of the visuals of KGF, and they said, "Sir, we want to make it a pan-India film." And I think he said it best, which was, not every film can become a pan-India film, right?
Right.
It needs some content in it. It needs something to connect with. And like, if in order for it to be a pan-India film, you need universal emotion.
Right.
So, that, and I think we can take the example of Pushpa, right? I personally didn't like the movie. I know you liked the movie.
Mhm.
But for the larger audience, right? Even though, like, if you look at it from a script perspective, it's nothing, pushing the box, and
It
it's
definitely had like
definitely,
problems here and there. Like if you think
yeah, yeah,
about it, like let's say for example, if somebody's gonna like watch, nobody's gonna put on like let's say like a normal family audience, for example, right? They have to choose like let's say like a normal family and pain over Pushpa. They'll choose the normal family and pain, right? Because it's like something they can just easily watch. The thing I
Mhm.
guess Pushpa is just like one of those movies where I think it's like somebody has to just like sit and watch it with moreover because it's like I guess in the sense that like I guess the reason why a lot of not many people I guess liked it is moreover because I think it was became too more complicated than it needed to be. Like it could have been just a straight type of movie, you know what I mean, right? Where it's
Mhm.
just like it doesn't have to be that complicated than it needed to. So maybe that was the reason why many people didn't like it, I guess. But yeah, I guess that's just I guess Sukumar's take on how he did it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, no, the one thing I wanted to say before, and actually, you know what? I'll finish the point, which was, if you look at it from a script perspective, right? It's nothing new, it's nothing like that. But the one thing that
Right.
carried it is literally Allu Arjun's like Oscar-worthy performance. Like,
Right,
he's
exactly.
so good. Like anytime you're feeling bored, like his mannerisms and just everything, it literally just keeps the movie flowing, right? And my
Right.
problems with it were just that I didn't get any highs that I was expecting because an action movie you expect highs, and the other thing was it was too long in the sense of like, when Fahad Fasil comes, right? Obviously one of the best actors in India, but I just felt like those two scenes, they sort of prolonged the runtime. I felt like he could have
Mhm.
ended the movie with his introduction. That would have been perfect. Then we get to see everything, and then we get to see them in their boxers in part two, not at the end of part one. Okay. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, I personally wasn't a fan of the Pan India move, but it worked because if you look at any, and I felt like the most interesting fact, and I think I don't know if you've seen this interview, but Anupama Chopra had this round table with the Hindi producers, and Karan Johar said it best, that the northern audience is basically the satellite rights, right, over the years. If you look at, and this is always the most stunning thing, our Rod movies have like 250 million views on YouTube, right?
Mr.
So
Button. Oh,
they
damn.
and what is it? So Allu Arjun's movies, they typically have the highest, right? So if you look at any song, it's never Telugu people, it's just North people. Allu said this, Allu said that, right? So, but the fact that they came out and they actually connected with it, and they didn't promote the movie. They had one poster. It made 3 crores in the first day, and then it ended up collecting 100 crores. I mean, you can't, you can't make that up. It
Mhm.
just happens. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, not every movie should be pan India. And I know that, you and I know I never shut up about it. I hope one day that I can when we make it for, my
Uh-huh.
Telugu film that I always talk about, which is, and, I asked obviously your advice, which was, should I make it pan India? And you were very brutally honest, right? You were like, I think it's very close to, Telugu Tanam. So
Right.
I think you should probably be, careful and all that stuff. And when I thought about your advice and the comments that I got from everybody else, I was like, well, when I think about everything that's, in the film, right? It's only related to Telugu cinema because
Right.
if you're talking about Kadapa King, you're talking about Kattinetru, you're talking about Spider Lady, right? What does a white person know of these things? The only thing they can relate to is the fact that we're basically trolling Spider-Man, right?
Right.
So when you think about these things, I think in the context of everything, it's I guess what I'm saying is you just have to be realistic, right? And we have a lot of things upcoming, like Kartikeya 2 is somehow a pan-India movie.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just, I guess, just because they put Anupam and Care, like, do they really think it's just pen? Because personally, I like the first one, but I just don't think, I don't know where they would take the sequel. That's just like, I don't know. Depends on
oh,
what
I
they
I
really want to
absolutely agree. The first one ended perfectly. I mean, what else are they gonna? Are you gonna? Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna tell me next? Nickel is the Indiana Jones? Like, what's going on
do.
here? All he's missing is a fedora and a whip.
Right.
But obviously, he's no Harrison Ford. But
Uh-huh.
I mean, yeah, and I think you were saying it too. Actually, I think this is quite funny. This is what is it? Kashmiri Files Multiverse because I think it's the same producer as Kashmiri
Oh,
Files,
really?
and
Oh,
they both have Anupam Kher.
damn.
So that's quite
Yeah, I
interesting.
didn't
But
know that.
and the way that I see it is that sorry to cut you off by the way. I didn't mean to. Um,
No worries.
which is I feel like since Bollywood is at such a low point, right? It feels like we're just basically trying to throw everything to sort of take them down, but at the same
Right.
time, it's not going to work because
Uh-huh.
not everything can be pan India. So I
Mhm.
think the sooner that they realize that and they're more realistic, and that the people who have earned pan India, actually go towards it, and it's
Mhm.
actually viable for them. I think that's when it'll be good. But hearing that word again, what do I think about? I think about a frying pan. That's the only thing. And I'm not going to say a melting pot because that's a pot. That's not a pan.
It's not a
So they want to think it's a melting pot of cultures. Dude, you're talking about a pan here,
yeah.
not a pot. But yeah, I think that's it. Pranav, once again, thank you so much for coming on to the pod today. We will definitely talk to you very soon. Once again, అందరు విన్నందుకు స్వాగతం సుస్వాగతం మరో ఎపిసోడ్లో కలుద్దాం. I hope you enjoyed this one. I know I definitely did. And please excuse our laughter in between. It's just since we talk about these things on a daily basis, it's hard to keep a straight face. So once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you very soon in another episode. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, Tej.